Welcome. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. Thank you for listening. This is Joey. Let's get started. Now, I know I say this a lot, but today's episode represents a rare opportunity to point something out. And I really, really mean that in this case because, as I've said before, and as you guys have probably heard in regular conversation, the world is a stage. And I don't know what it is, but in recent times, it seems like since the George Floyd riots, it seems like this little play has been on fast forward. And when it seems like it's on fast forward like this, you know, people say life comes at you fast, right? When it seems like it's on fast forward like this, the parts and the characters and the beats in the play seem more overt, right? It seems like because we're making the play move faster, it's almost like we make the parts more obvious so that you can get them even though they're moving faster, right? Now, I just did an episode a little while back detailing how the United States of America uses the cover of immigration to cover up the business of espionage, and how we use the cover of immigration to let our assets and our spy assets and our cooperators and our snitches in and out of our borders, right? How a good deal of the immigrants that you see walking around the United States of America are actually former collaborators and cooperators and inside men and women for attempted regime changes and, you know, spies from other countries. These are all the sellouts, right? America's a giant witness protection program for snitch-ass immigrants. And I pointed out to you how differently these types of immigrants get treated in our process for America, how they get fast-tracked into citizenship, how they get to circumvent the entire tar and feathering process that you have to go through to become even an immigrant here in America, right? These people don't have to, skip no borders. They don't have to wade in no waters. They don't have to undergo any humiliation. You're not going to catch these people down to any caravans at any borders. They're going to get a free ride, right? They're going to pass go. They're going to collect $200. They're going to be dropped off in the middle of Minnesota or the middle of Texas or the middle of Virginia. You know, you're literally seeing news reports. I put something at the beginning here. You're going to be seeing news reports of immigrants from Afghanistan who don't even have their background checks cleared. We don't even know who they are, but they're being given government clearance, and the airlines are being told, let them on the airline. No questions asked, right? Now, I want to show you these images of what's going on. See, I want you to keep in mind where Afghanistan is in relation to the world and compared to the United States, how far you have to fly to come from Afghanistan where you're getting a free ride. These are Caucasians from the Caucasus Mountains, these Afghanis, right? And then you want to compare this with how you see Haitians being treated who are sneaking into Texas, right? And these are Haitians these aren't people that are terrorists. These aren't people that were assets for American government intelligence agencies. They have no use for the government. They're not any part of our dirty little secrets or anything that we have going on. They're just people who are trying to eat. They're just people who, these are the exact opposites, as a matter of fact. These are people who are citizens of Haiti that are runoffs and residuals that are just trying to find food and scourge and skimmy after America's been screwing with Haiti for years, for decades, right? So these aren't people who are assets that are helping the United States maintain power over in a country that now that that power is kind of toppling and America got to leave, fleeing in the middle of the night, that we got to bring some of these snitches and spies that have worked with us over the years back to America, like Afghanistan, because that's what's going on in Afghanistan. All the people you see in the American planes that are trying to come home, as I established to you, these are snitches that are in Afghanistan that are, sorry, nigga, I'm trying to come home, right? Well, look at these Haitians. These aren't snitches. These aren't people that have been collaborating. These are the victims that have been, these are the victims in many cases in Haiti that have been getting picked off and tortured and killed during their protest, that have been getting picked off and tortured and killed by American mercenaries, right? Whenever you see these mercenaries, keep in mind, this is what's funny. I want to point this out to show to you, Black Americans, all the stuff that's magically and conspicuously absent from this process that we normally see. Do you see the Democratic Party up in arms about Haitians being whipped by Texas sheriffs and Texas Rangers? Do you see all these members of the Democratic Party up in arms about the imagery of this, the way you see them up in arms about Hispanic immigrant babies in cages? Are you seeing members of the Democratic Party up in arms about this situation in Texas, the way they've been up in arms with the caravan? Are you seeing any belly aching? Are you seeing any, are you seeing any uproar? Are you seeing the same language being used of people? Remember all the talk about abolish ICE and people not cooperating with ICE and all this stuff that was going on with the Democratic Party when it was dreamers being rounded up? Do you see how we're all of a sudden completely cool with the idea of human beings being treated like, not unlike wildlings in the goddamn Game of Thrones? We're totally cool with imagery of young kids from Haiti running with bags of food in their hand, flying from the sting of a whip. And another thing, when you had this exact same problem, right, with Central American immigrants, Central American people running around your borders in Texas, when you had this exact same problem, who was the fucking guy that kept you guys from using the whip all this time? Who was the asshole that decided that the second that these exact same types of immigrants were black, the second that they were black, no, Cletus, go get the whip. It's a rare opportunity. Who was the guy that decided it was going to be good optics? I mean, because when you look at it, right, you don't think it's weird that we have all this videotape and all this video footage of the caravan and whatever, but the second you get some niggas down there, you guys got still images. Still image. The only time they break out the still images is when they do that shit for niggas. You ever notice that? When they caught that black dude and they had the hunting dogs and shit, they all had the image together. Even the nigga looked like he was involved. He's all smiling and shit. Even the nigga looked like he was involved in the roundup when they had the nigga get caught by the police dogs and shit like that. They had him hog-tied. This nigga smiling and posing for the camera. Like, the shit is made for niggas. They do this shit to show niggas, look what power we have over you. Make no mistake about it. It was a conscious decision to use whips on them Haitians and to take still photos. They wanted black people to see this imagery. They wanted niggas to see that. Now, I wanted you guys to look at this because, see, as these type of things happen in the news, Black YouTube always puts its own niggerish spin on the topic to distract us from the big picture. I'm already seeing a lot of black YouTubers take this Haitian spin. Fuck all that. What I'm using to show is this is the normal default way that immigrants normally get treated when they come to America when they're black. You notice that the entire immigrant process, you notice that the Democratic Party doesn't feel like it can use this group of people like a political football, like they can use when they try to get their Hispanic votes curried. When you saw all that ass kissing about the Dream Act and all that, don't cooperate with ICE and all that shit, that was all just a dog and pony show to try to show Hispanic and Latino voters that the Democratic Party is the party to roll with. How the Democratic Party rolls, really how both parties roll with their constituents, is the trick is to make it seem like you're looking like you're fighting for your constituents. If only you had more money. If only you had more support. That's the trick. That's how it's supposed to look. It's supposed to look like you're always fighting and pursuing something in politics and you just need more resources to do it. That's what keeps the donations piling in. That's what keeps the votes coming in. That's what keeps the support going. Both sides do that shit. But the Democrats really lay it on thick when it comes to immigration in an attempt to curry favor with the Hispanic vote. But immigration don't move the needle with niggas. The Democratic Party doesn't feel at all indebted to niggas. Now, another thing that this should point out, and I want all you Haitian Americans watching at home, any Haitian American that's thinking about fixing their little Twitter fingers to make some article or some blog about with the idea in mind of shaming black Americans for their lack of support for this topic. See, normally I would try to explain why. No, I'm going to tell you straight up right now. All you foreign blacks should take heed. All foreign blacks living in America should take note. All you foreign blacks that have been wondering all this time, because I've been on panels. I've debated with you niggas. And what it normally comes down to when we have the disrespect coming from black immigrants here in America, what it normally comes down to when you talk to them long enough is they'll straight up tell you, we don't feel like we got to check in with black Americans in America. We got to stay on white people's good side, but we don't really care if we piss y'all off. This ain't y'all's country like that. We got to go through white folks to live here, not y'all. So we want to make sure that white folks is cool with us, not y'all. And the way to make sure that white folks is cool with us is to not be cool with y'all. We don't got to check in with y'all. We don't got to ask permission to absorb y'all's culture. We don't got to ask permission when we're being disrespectful, when we're imitating you, when we're mocking you. Your comfort with us is not important. After all, what can you do to make our stay here better or worse? That's usually the stance you get from African immigrants, from Caribbean immigrants when it comes to being here, that we don't have to worry about how or whether or not you do accept us black Americans, because we don't need you to get in here. And I've been saying for years, that's a real skewed assessment of your situation here. You think that because white folks let you in, quote unquote, that white folks are the reason why you're here and that you can stay. And to that, I just want to say how soon we forget, little Haitian. You see, because you don't even really need some thick, well-versed understanding of history in this country as a Haitian to know that that's not correct. You would only need to watch a couple of episodes of A Different World back in the day. Hell, even Dave Chappelle used to joke about it. It used to be an ongoing joke comparing Cuban immigration to America to Haitian immigration to America. People act like Cuba and Haiti and shit are these islands that are months away. Cuba and Haiti, man, are one political move from just being extra islands in America. They're right down the street. They're right down the street. We used to have ongoing jokes about how they would send the boats back if they were from Haiti. African Americans fought. And we're talking about in recent times. I don't want to hear that stretch of the truth roundabout reading rainbow shit that Haitians use to try to justify. Haitians that live in America try to make it seem like they came here and their history here in America is completely separate from Black Americans and they don't owe us shit here in America. They be trying to make it seem like Haitians be trying to make it seem like they came here to America and colonized Chicago all by themselves. Well, the first Black person in Chicago was Haitian, so Chicago is really Haiti. We didn't have nothing to do with y'all. Like, no, nigga. There was a nigga who was Haitian that came and discovered and founded Chicago. It led to what became the founding of Chicago. Let's not make it seem like this nigga was the founder and they made a statue of him and he was the mayor and shit like a white dude. No, he came and had a settlement the same way there were Black Americans that settled and created the location that later on became known as California. They don't give us no credit for that. Like, it's just like a little trivia thing. But I digress. Getting back to Haitians living in America. Haitians living in America, you guys are going to be the official example for the Nigerians, for the Ethiopians, for the Somalians that all live here. You notice, think about this for a second. There's enough Haitians living in America, successful Haitian Americans, ones who you wouldn't even know were Haitian until they opened their mouths and told you. Living all throughout America. You don't see not a one of these Haitian celebrities standing up and saying shit. You notice that? You don't see not one Haitian athlete, not one activist here in America that got Haitian roots. You don't see none of these people saying shit. You notice that? Where's your boy with his big ass head, Roland Martin, that loves to chime in that he's really a Haitian? Where are these niggas at? Quiet as church mice, because these people are really owned by the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party don't see no point in speaking on Haitian immigration. You notice the whole language. All it takes is just one group of people from the wrong group of people, and all of a sudden the whole language changed. You don't even hear them using the word immigrant. You hear them using the word invasion. They calling poor immigrants, poor Haitians, who are the actual definition of immigrant, right? You know, when you hear the immigrants living around here now that were spies and traitors and snitches from their country living over here snitching on people, you know, when you hear these bitch ass niggas talking about, I came here to America with nothing. Bullshit. Bullshit. And this is living proof of the bullshit, because like I've said before, you can't come to America. You can't come to any country as an immigrant without two things right off the bat. The blessing from the country that you left and the blessing from the country that you're coming to. Immigrate isn't a one-person word. It's not some one-person action that you can do commonly. The process of a human being immigrating from one nation to another involves cooperation between both of those nations. That's just a fact. Otherwise, you get what you're getting here, where you get the nation that they're going to, sending them right back to the nation that they're coming from. So when you're looking at these Haitians, on the coast of America picking flowers and shit and getting sent back over to Haiti, this is what it looks like when somebody really tries to come to somebody else's country with nothing. These Haitians that you're seeing being whipped like it's 1863, these Haitians that you see running for their lives from Texas Rangers, it's funny, you never see Texas Rangers ever actually doing anything useful that you would need a Texas Ranger for. You ever notice that? It's like you could only call a Texas Ranger for racist shit. Hey, there's some cats stuck in a tree. It's a fire. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. It's not what Texas Rangers do. Hey, there's a black guy. Well, we're on our way. We got some rope. You can only call a Texas Ranger up for something evil or racist. They're just the biggest pieces of shit in all police force. They're just completely useless. I've never seen a Texas Ranger do anything good. Ever. They always got them stupid hats and them long coats, trying to live up to years gone by, fucking yesteryear glory days of being a sheriff. These are all the people that sign up because they still want to be part of the slave patrol. They just ain't shit. But anyway, piece of shit Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers, more than happy to go gear up and dust off some old 1800 slave patrol equipment and run around with whips and shit. I would love to see one of them Haitians catch that whip and just pull them off that fucking horse. You love doing some shit like this. A lot of these Rangers probably got their dicks hard, suiting up and gearing up for this attack, right? This is what it looks like when people really come to a country with nothing. These Haitians really did get here on a river raft, you know what I'm saying, some sort of improvised flotilla device with nothing but the hopes in their heads and the clothes on their backs. And they're not getting that shelter treatment. These are actual real deal refugees, right? These are real deal refugees that are from a country. Keep in mind, it's not like Haitians are over here trying to get food because, Haiti just couldn't get it together, right? It's not like Haiti lost all its money in a dice game. Haiti is over here. Haitians are over here trying to eat food and being called invaders for being caught off the coast of American states. Haitians are over here because we assassinated their president. Full stop. Like it's not like it's a mystery. Like American jackals, American economic hitmen, American assassins and mercenaries have repeatedly and sloppily been caught in Haiti recently. They always get caught in Haiti. It's not like people got to understand how we treat Latin America and these Caribbean islands like America's backyard. That's literally what we've called it for years. We don't respect these countries. And then we do arrogant American shit. Like our people, our followers, our voters, the people who are the subjects of this country, we are some of the, I wouldn't say dumbest. We are some of the most voluntarily ignorant people. And this is why people don't really be liking America. It's not because, it's because we all pretend like we don't know what we're doing out here in the world, right? You know, like when you go watch a movie and in order for you to truly enjoy the movie, they call it the willing suspension of disbelief, meaning you are willing to put your skepticism and what you understand about the real world to the side in order to enjoy the bullshit in this movie, right? You're sitting down watching Mary Poppins and you're like, people can't really fly with umbrellas like that. Just put that shit to the side. We know that, but just put that understanding of reality to the side so that you can enjoy this movie, right? It's called the willing suspension of disbelief. You're willing to be lied to for a moment in order to be entertained. That's the silent agreement that you make when you watch entertainment. And every now and then, something can happen that's so egregious and so over the top. And so, man, come on, man, that it interrupts your willing suspension of disbelief in a movie. And when that happens, you can no longer really enjoy the film because you're not willing to allow yourself to be lied to anymore, right? You see the alien's zipper on his costume or something like that, or you're watching a scary movie and somebody from the background who's just working on the set actually walks on camera with a donut in his mouth. Oh, my bad. Like, it's going to throw you off. It's going to throw you off. And here in America, we have a willing suspension of disbelief when it comes to society. We'll sit here and pretend like we'll all see on the news, right? Every day, a group of mercenaries caught in Haiti. They were wearing American flags. They have American citizenships and American passports, and they're all members of the American Special Forces. They were caught on their way with a cache of weapons to a Haitian protest against the government there, and we don't know what they were there for. Yes, we do. We know exactly what they're clearly there to be mercenaries. They're clearly there to shoot up Haitian citizens in Haiti who are protesting against the puppet regime that we control. Like, let's all quit pretending like we don't know how this shit works. We'll be, as Americans, right? We'll be watching a news channel. We'll be watching a news segment, watching our leaders openly talking about another country, right? Like Venezuela. And we'll openly be talking about regime change, acting like we don't know what regime change means. We'll be watching our leaders on C-SPAN talking about, yeah, we're going to have to regime change them niggas. Like, we don't know that means kill their leader and put one of our puppets in charge. We all pretend like we don't know what that means. If there was another country, if China was openly talking about regime change on America, that would be an act of war. We'd be at China's doorstep. What the fuck was you talking about, China? We'd be at their doorstep that night. But we openly talking about regime change in other countries, and then openly talk about, her Venezuela almost got assassinated. Oops. So we openly talk about meddling with other countries, right? We openly talk about that. Not a day went by where there wasn't some clearly American mercenaries getting caught fucking around up in Haiti, right? It was almost sad how sloppy it was, right? Almost like, again, like I said, like they almost want you to see this shit. So you have all that going on every day. Like I said, not a day go by where there ain't some new attempt at some bullshit going on over in Haiti. Every day. Until one day, they're finally successful in the bullshit. They finally get what they've been trying to do. They assassinate the president, right? Or I'm sorry. We're in America, so we got to all keep playing dumb. The president magically gets himself assassinated, right? In a country where the people barely even have enough money for weapons. But the president magically gets himself assassinated with a high-end, very powerful, expensive sniper rifle in a country where they can barely afford food and running water. And the president's wife survives the assassination, can identify the people who did it. It was a white person who did it. It was very clearly Americans. But that's not allowed to make it to the news, right? And then one day you start to see the people from the nation you've been successfully trying to topple for decades. You start to see citizens from that nation scrambling for food and trying to survive, right? And now we're going to all pretend like we don't know why they're here. Now we're going to pretend like all these Haitians just think about this for a second. We're so used to seeing Haiti get mistreated. We're used to hurricanes only hitting half the island. Like, a lot of people don't know Haiti and the Dominican Republic are the same island. It's just the island of Hispaniola. The hurricanes will only hit Haiti. We're so used to things just magically happening to Haiti, we don't even ask questions anymore. So when their president happens to get assassinated after dozens of attempts by, I'm talking about would-be assassins and mercenaries that have been caught with American passports. Mercenaries that have been caught and sent back to America. Like, hey, we tried to kill y'all president. Our bad. Can you send us those assassins back? Yeah, those are all Americans. Like, that's how obvious the ordeal has been. And then now that it finally is successful, now we got to all go back to pretending like we don't know how he got assassinated, right? And now that we have Haitians at our doorstep, we're calling it an invasion. Like, look how big of assholes and bullies we are. We'd have destroyed their country, right? We messed up their country. We got little Haitian 14-year-olds running around trying to grab bags of food out on the coast, out on Texas, and we're calling them invaders. Like it's Red Dawn and the Chinese military is at the doorstep, right? We're coming in full brigade. Now remember, this exact same police group, if they encountered a white mass shooter at a high school, they'd be too pussy to even go into school. But they got some 14-year-olds, some little underage, malnourished Haitian kids running for McDonald's bags out there in Texas, and they got whips in their horses and shit. They're so fucking corny. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. And then again, don't watch the right, because this is the corny machinations of the right. Watch the silence of the left. Where's your Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes and them titties? Where is your support from your left-wing brothers and sisters that were having you stand up for the DREAM Act? Black folks, you remember when the DREAM Act was supposed to be something they were trying to pass, and they had whole articles talking about why your black ass should be standing side by side with your brown brothers and sisters? Where are these people? It's not just the Republicans calling these Haitians invaders and saying that the border has fallen. Where are these people that just a couple of weeks ago were talking about a caravan? It's supposed to be the damn caravan of love. Just a couple of weeks ago, they was telling you, not asking you, they was telling you to get ready because the Afghans was coming. They already had a spot for them. But now they ain't got no spot. It's not like the Haitians are some big formidable force. There's a couple thousand of them. A couple of thousand of them. You could easily house them Haitians, no problem. But this should be a very, very loud warning sign to a lot of black immigrants, since you was asking at the time, what powers do black people, we don't have to check in with the black Americans, right? This is the other silence that you should be paying attention to. Not just the silence from the Democratic Party, which is proof that they're fake and that they were only for making all that noise for immigration to try to get Latino and Hispanic votes. But pay attention to the silence coming from black America, because that reaction is from the heart. That's sincere. I pointed out a different world because, you know, I'm not always just pointing out pop references to point out that I remember pop references. But pop references, television, media, books, cartoons, even drawings on a wall, those are timestamps. Those are indications of and stamps of how people were feeling at the time. They give you certain indicators of where we were as a people. And if you look at old episodes of A Different World, this was during the 80s. This is when Haitians were getting kicked away at the borders and black folks in America were standing up and letting y'all in. We're the reason why y'all are in here. See, a lot of foreign blacks have gotten used to giving black Americans the little bullshit shimmy where you give us some little anecdote about how your people first came to be here like you ain't have nothing to do with us. I mentioned earlier people trying to point out that Chicago was founded by a Haitian immigrant, as if Haitians just came here and established their own self completely separate from black Americans in America. Bullshit. The reason why a majority of Haitians that are walking around America today are here and got shit to do with that Haitian immigrant that founded Chicago. Hell, you find most Haitians in America in damn Florida, not Chicago, right? The reason why you see Haitians walking around here in America today is because of black Americans letting them in the country. Period. Point blank, period. You can't argue around that. White folks did not want no Haitians in here. White folks was letting Cubans in and sending Haitians back, and they coming from the same seas. White folks did not want Haitians in here. Black folks fought for Haitians to be here solely on the strength of you niggas look like us. Which is why it's funny. It's funny hearing Haitians walking around America talking shit about how they were treated by black Americans while being refugees in the United States. All the while forgetting that the reason you're even a refugee in the United States is because these niggas let you in. Yeah, some people might have made fun of your shoes or the potato sack you're wearing. But don't forget, we just pulled your ass out of a damn, poorly made makeshift lifeboat. We just pulled your ass out of the water. White folks is going to turn that little raft right back around and send you right back to Hispaniola. We rescued you. We dusted your funky ass off. So yeah, if you suffered a little disrespect in elementary school or something like that, that's unfortunate. We frown on that. We're sorry that happened to you. But my nigga, keep shit in perspective. Because now black Americans have been exposed. See, I told you this was going to happen. This is the fallout from the George Floyd protest. Black Americans remember, like Pepperidge Farm, we remember all that shit all you foreign blacks was talking during the George Floyd protest. We remember all the black people, all the foreign blacks who was trying to take that opportunity to tell white folks, we don't talk back, we won't act up, we'll appreciate. Y'all was doing some real coon shit. There was not one black group living here in America, of which the largest contingency are Haitians, Nigerians, and Jamaicans. Those are the largest groups of non-black American blacks living in America. We didn't hear not one group come out saying we stand besides the black Americans, or we're not in this, or we're not. No, you niggas all found a way to come out in unison and say, we don't rock with them black Americans. Y'all niggas come out every single time like that. We seen too many people from Haiti, from Jamaica, from Nigeria come out against the idea of reparations. Just flat on his face. And not because of any nuanced argument. It was simply because we don't want those black Americans to get something over us. Thought that was real weird. We didn't know we even had beef with Haitians like that. We don't got no beef with Haitians like that. You niggas might got clowned in like a school or two in Miami or something like that, but there ain't no national dislike or disrespect of Haitian people from black Americans. Niggas be happy for y'all on Haitian Independence Day and shit like that. We was happy for y'all. Y'all niggas the first free black folks in the new world. Niggas love the Fugees. We didn't even know we had beef like that with y'all. Then we see bitch ass niggas like King Face and shit like that. We didn't know it was like that. So you notice now, I'm seeing something I ain't never seen before with black folks. This is proof we are the most ununified people now. And I'm not saying that as no complaint. I'm saying this is a sign of this is what you get. You see black folks, Haitians, being whipped by Texas Rangers. And you see black people in America standing down. Does that mean it don't bother us? Of course it bothers us. We don't like to see that imagery. We don't want to see no other black folks going through that shit we done been through on American soil hundreds of years ago. But you got to see now, since you've been begging the question. We don't need y'all to come in here to America. We don't need black Americans' permission. We don't need black Americans' blessing. Who are you? What are you? Now you see firsthand what it's like as a black person coming into America without the protection and the infrastructure that black folks in America had already built for you. Now you got to come in from square one with whips on you. It's 2021. It's 2021. And if you are a black person in this world and you want to come into America without black America's blessing, you still got to come in this bitch with whips. You still got to come take lashes if you want an ounce of food to eat. That's what this should show your black ass. All you black people that aren't from America, all around the world, I want you to watch what's happening to these Haitians that are coming in here to America without black Americans' blessing. Because make no doubt about this, White folks making this kind of a statement, this is white folks making a statement. And that statement is, and they don't even know that they're making this statement for us. That statement is, you can't come in here without the niggers' support. You coming in here without the niggers' blessings in America means we get to do this to you and no one's even going to say anything. Those images went all throughout the white world. And you see, ain't no white person even clearing their throat about it. So what's that tell you? There are two kinds of people that saw those images, white folks and niggas. You know the white folks ain't gonna be tripping. That's breakfast for them. They expected the niggas to turn up over that. Remember Chris Rock made that joke about how there's nothing worse than a woman that knows you ain't gonna hit her? Remember the woman was talking all that shit and she bracing, expecting the hit. And then she look around, see you ain't gonna do shit. And he ain't saying hit women. He's saying nothing worse than a woman that knows you ain't gonna hit her, right? That's America right now. America's looking around going, boy, we actually broke out real whips and horses. It looked just like the Dr. Dre Express Yourself video, and they didn't even react. Oh boy. Remember, the same people that turned up over seeing one black dude get killed out in the street, over seeing one black dude get killed while jogging, over seeing one black woman get killed in her sleep in her house, the same people that'll turn up and flip a whole country upside down. We see that imagery of them whips and them chains, and we're like, That should let you know all that we're not black, we're Haitian, all that we're not black, we're Nigerian, all that we're not black, we're Jamaican, we don't rock with them Akata, we don't rock with them Yankees, we're not those black Americans. All that shit, all you foreign blacks have been talking all this time and finally got through to greater black society here in America. And they said, you know what? You're right. You're not us. So when we see you suffering, we don't identify. Congratulations, foreign blacks. You have finally undone black unity as a whole. And that means you can't use black people in America as a power source anymore. Which means you are completely... See, when you have... I said this in another episode with regards to power and how we use words wrong. Power itself isn't what makes you powerful. It's the ability to manipulate, control, and wield power that makes you powerful, makes you full of power, right? When you no longer have the means of control or manipulation over said power, you are now less powerful or powerless. Foreign blacks, by your constant separation from, distancing of, and disrespect of black Americans here in America, you have distanced yourself so far from us that you no longer have influence, and thus you no longer have power. And now that white folks see that, now that white folks in America, because white folks are always doing stuff for data. Now that white folks in America have the data to know that mistreating a foreign black person doesn't necessarily constitute a reaction from black Americans anymore, right? Because there was a day and age to where white people would get annoyed that they couldn't do shit to black people globally because there was always the watchful eye of black America. People forget white America's official stance, like Ronald Reagan's official stance, was pro-apartheid in South Africa. People forget that. We shamed them into backing off of that. That's what a lot of people don't realize. America was 100% pro-apartheid, was trying to put a positive spin on it, was treating it just like they treat Israel right now, was trying to spin that story like, well, the Afrikaners have to survive there. They're surrounded by all those savage Africans. That was the narrative they were trying to push. Black folks shed a light on that. Black folks in America shed a light on that. So now that you've lost that, foreign black, now that white America knows that they can beat the shit out you with whips, and black America will be like, well, I mean, they was calling us cicadas, so we're going to stay out of this. Now that America knows that, what do you think they're going to, like, just kind of run this by you real quick. We're about a year removed from them trying to have a Nigerian ban in immigration here in America. That act was squashed simply because black Americans wasn't going for it. Do you think they don't remember that? They were trying to send the Liberians back too, saying, Liberia's cleaning up as a country. You straight. You can go back. It took black Americans pissing and moaning and helping Liberians living in America out to squash that. You think they're not going to come circle back around on that? This is something a lot of foreign blacks don't understand because, see, it's kind of tricky. People say black Americans don't look at the world globally, but we do. We just happen to look at the world globally from the standpoint of America. We understand how America engages with the world and can influence the world. So it's not like we don't care what goes on in the rest of the world. We just know that America is going to be able to influence it the most, right? So that's how we try to influence the rest of the world, is by hitting the tree that all the fruit comes off of. When you look at these foreign blacks, they don't see that shit at all. And they don't even see how what's going on in America is even going to affect them directly. They don't realize globally, white folks are in something that they're calling a birth dearth. White supremacy is completely based off of reproduction. It says so in their mission statement, right? So how do you think these white folks are going to get to acting when they officially know scientifically that they are globally in a birth dearth? At the same time, when they got some of their best and brightest trying to trick you non-white people into not reproducing as much. You haven't realized how are they saying on the news that every white nation is going through a birth dearth, but then they're telling you that your countries have overpopulation problems. You haven't figured out that that's a conflict of interest. They're worried about the fact that there's going to be less white people on the planet than normal. That's always been the problem when it comes to white supremacy, is that there's not enough white people. So you'll have white people now flat out saying there aren't enough white people. And no one asks enough white people to do what? I mean, I can get if you're making an argument there's going to be less white people on the planet. I can get if you're white and you want to survive and you'd like there to be an outlook that, no, there's going to be as many white people tomorrow as there are today. I can understand that, right? But when you actually use the phrase not enough, now you're talking about capacities and minimum requirement levels. And now you have to ask, enough to do what? I mean, Native American Indians are damn near an endangered species, right? If you're going to compare them by animal numbers, right? But no one's ever said there aren't enough Native Americans. Like, enough to do what? Like, is there some sort of tribal dance we got to do? And there's like we're missing 5. Like, there's not enough Indian. No one uses that language. But when it comes to white people, you actually have sitting presidents. You actually have ruling leaders of nations saying we're running out of white people. There aren't enough. The sitting president of the United States of America, Joe Biden, on his introduction flat out said verbatim, this country is going to hell in a handbasket because there aren't going to be enough white people. What does that mean? What does that mean? While you try to figure out what that means, understand what that means for you, foreign black. In this country, we have history in this country of white folks who rule this country not wanting your black ass in it. And it's not just for being mean, it's because they fear you overpopulating them. That's the root of the fear. Understand that if nothing else, white supremacy is very predictable. It's very predictable. So you got a bunch of people who feel, I don't even want to say feel, who realize that their populations are declining. Now, normally when this happens, because this has happened many a times in this world and in this country with white folks where their populations are declining, this is why their immigration in this country historically has been the way it's been. See, people don't listen to what people say. They take little dark phrases and turn them into light, meaning, harmless sounding things. When you hear white people say in America, America's a melting pot. What the hell is a melting pot? It's a pressure cooker, right? It's something that you use to blend everything together. When you hear white folks say America is a melting pot, what they were trying to do is make generic whiteness. You look at the history of most of the white folks that live here in America, and they were Welsh, they were Irish, they were Italian, and none of them got along. All those mafia wars you hear about back in the day, so we just say the mafia or the mob. There was a Jewish mafia, an Irish mafia, and by the time it got to the Sicilian mafia, that was like the youngest version of the mafia. The mafioso families that you hear them talk about in the later days of the mob, the Goodfellas area of the mob, that's the latest, youngest La Costa Nostra version of the mob. There was an Irish mob before that. That was the biggest mob. There was a Jewish mob before that. And none of them got along. All the movies, the romanticized movies about the mafia that you hear about when you hear about the wars and the families fighting, that's the slow, progressive takeover from one white ethnic group to the other. You go watch movies like Gangs of New York. How do you listen to the insults they were giving each other? The Irish insults and the Mick and the Wop. And that's that shit because those are Italians versus Irish versus. And America being a melting pot was about them all melting together and just becoming white. It ain't got shit to do with all these other colors that are in the pot and all that diversity. That's just shit they say now. But America as a project was always to be a white nation. It was to take all these different white nationals from all these poor, decaying white nations and form a new one white nation. Keep the populations up. That's what the American colonies were supposed to be for. We need to make what they call, it's the same shit Hitler was fighting for. What? Living space. All these white world wars and all these things that you've seen within white people, I'm talking about European wars. They've got shit to do with any other countries or any other ethnic groups. Were always over what was going to be the genetic makeup of whiteness. That's always what these fights were for. We don't want a bunch of Slavs in our bloodline. We don't want this. We don't want Jews. We want blonde hair, blue eyes. We want to be an Aryan, pure. That's what. So even before whiteness touched other groups, whiteness has always been about the purity of whiteness. That's why they got the most shallow gene pool. They only fuck each other, even if they're related. So you're taking this group of people whose entire creed, their entire modus operandi is based on competition is a sin when it comes to reproduction, right? We can't have no other groups reproducing. We can't have no other groups reproducing with us. And the second we feel that our numbers are in danger or threatened, we have to go into evasive actions mode, cut off other groups from coming over here, and make sure that just us make it over here so that just we reproduce. And I say all of that to say, and you think they're going to keep letting your black funky asses in this country. They trying to get rid of us. You think they're going to still let y'all be in the country when they're at a birth dearth? They're trying to convince you not to reproduce in your countries. You got Bill Gates going all over Nigeria, giving niggas free sterilized goddamn chickens just as long as they promise not to have any more kids, right? You got white folks practically begging you guys to quit reproducing. And you think they're about to let y'all over here and prosper and shit. Black Americans don't gotta hate on y'all. I'm hearing a lot of Africans, oh, because we're taking over and black Americans are jealous because now we're coming and taking over. You think we're listening to that shit. We're not tripping. But guess who literally grabs pitchforks and goddamn hookah fire sticks and shit and khaki pants and marches down the street saying you will not replace us? It ain't the niggas. It ain't black Americans that walk around feeling threatened like that. So you might want to kind of check your tone. Talking a little cocky out there, giving the game plan away about you coming over here and supposedly taking over. This is stuff you don't think about. If white folks are getting to the point to where they're banning their own women from being able to have abortions, if white folks are getting so desperate to the point to where they're doing womb transplants with African women, if white folks is getting so desperate, just to kind of let you know how all this is tied in, why do you think all this pro-transsexual stuff is coming up now? They need warm bodies that they can do these womb transplants on so that they can keep their numbers up. If it's gotten to the point where white folks have given it a nickname, if white folks ever put the word gate at the end of something, it's a big ass scandal. Or if they give it a nickname, it's something that they want to be on the minds of all white people now. And they're calling it the birth dearth. You got your own sitting president saying the country's going to hell in a handbasket because they don't have, quote unquote, enough white people. So don't think for a second that white folks aren't going to start looking around, because there ain't nothing that's a bigger contrast, that's a bigger sign of different than a bunch of black skin everywhere. And I know I hear from a lot of Africans and from a lot of Caribbeans, and they come, when the police pull me over, they do not ask if I am, but well, that shit's about to change in a minute. Because if there's one thing white folks know, they may play coy. White folks know they're niggers. White folks know their niggers from foreign niggers. They know. That attack on them Haitians, done in that egregious manner, done with that kind of symbolism, like, you guys really don't know. White folks do whole case studies. They call it a consumer acceptance testing to see what people will tolerate, especially on the internet now. They do all sorts of multivariant A to B testing to see what people will tolerate. You don't believe me? Think about it like this. Call me a liar if I'm lying. There are whole police tapes out right now with damning evidence on police forces right now, with beatings and officer-involved shootings and torture and all sorts of unscrupulous events that you got attorney generals that won't even let this shit get out, because they know if it got out that the optics would look so bad. They don't even know if people would riot on the spot. They don't know if police's lives would be in danger. But one thing they do know is that the optics would look bad. They phrase whole words of things in certain ways so that shit don't look a certain way. So you think that it didn't run by anybody? Remember, this is the same city and same state that had to handle the Amber Geiger case with kid gloves because they knew how that was going to look. A white woman breaking into a black man's house, shooting him in his own home. So you don't think that same group of people in that same area thought for maybe a microsecond, you know, The Texas border is always a hot topic, and immigrants coming in and coming out, you know, that's not uncommon. You know what is uncommon? Us breaking out these whips just because the immigrants happen to be black this time. Maybe that wouldn't be a good look. You don't think they might have ran that by? You don't think the white folks that was in charge of this didn't have that in mind? They know what the symbolism of a whip on some niggas look like. That was done by design to show what will niggas tolerate when it comes to these foreign blacks. What will they tolerate? Remember, these are the same people that use water cannons on Native Americans on Standing Rock on Thanksgiving. They be knowing what they're doing. They're trying to see what will people tolerate. They like the symbolism. Remember when Donald Trump went and started macing people in front of the White House just so he could take that picture with the Bible so he could look like Hitler? They like the symbolism. People high up top be asking them to do that weird shit just so they can get the picture. White folks now know, foreign black, that you can be disrespected, that you can be brutalized, and the greater black community won't see that as an attack on black American society. In short, we'll turn our backs on you the way you've turned your backs on us. In short, and I've been trying to tell you this the whole time, it's open season on you now. You're officially food. That was a warning sign to all white folks. These foreign blacks are officially food. The greater black society will not protect them. Now, if I were a foreign black, even if I were a Nigerian, if I were Ethiopian, if I were Somalian, none of you niggas have the numbers to survive out here on your own. None of you. If I were a foreign black, I would take heed from that shit and go, I need to go get back right with the niggas. I didn't know we were exposed out here like that. I need to go make amends with these people. I didn't know we pissed black folks off so much to where they're going to be cool with us getting beat up like that. I didn't know things had gotten that bad. That's like you getting jumped and your own family drive by and see you getting jumped and just like, nah, he deserved that ass whooping. If I seen my family do that to me, I wouldn't even be mad at them. I'd be thinking, damn, what did I do? I gotta go make amends. I didn't. Damn. Nobody got out the car? That would make me have pause to go, I must have did something wrong. Even if I don't know what I did, I can't assume that they're foul. I must have did something wrong to make them be okay with that move. For too long, too many of you have come here thinking that you are here by the blessings of white folks, not realizing that the real reason you're here is by the begrudging, regrettable allowance of white folks brought to you by the blessings of black folks. These white folks don't want you here. They don't want you here. They tolerate you here because they know you're with us. And the second they realize you ain't with us no more, oh, you ain't got that protection no more, you're going to see exactly what it's really going to be like. You're already seeing. You can't, you literally, and I've been saying this as a joke for years. The few of you that have followed my show have heard me say this before. You literally can't step on the American coast, no matter how good you think you are, no matter how good of a good, hardworking nigger, and we don't talk back and we listen, all that shit. You can't literally step on the American coast. They'd have slit your throat. They'd have hung you right at the coastline. I've said this for years, and here is living proof. The second you step on, look at the pictures. Look at the pictures. These people don't get to, look at how cocky, how arrogant people at that caravan get to be. Talking about the United States promised me this and that, and they better do it because they're used to getting their asses kissed. They know they're not on no regular immigrant status here in America. They know this whole thing's a hustle for them to be able to sneak in the country, and they take full advantage. Now look at these black folks who are getting the real border treatment. Who still makes whips? Is there another use for whips? Like, niggas don't know no other use for whips other than whipping niggas and like the Ringling Brothers. So we don't know who's still out there making whips. Like, it's like one whip company that like got that order. Like, whoa, shit. Who is still making whips? They put an order in for like 50 whips. That's insane to me. They knew what the imagery of this type of shit was going to look like. This to me is no different. Just look how the non-black world communicates with each other on how it treats its niggers. Y'all remember when Corona first came out? I'm saying it like it's some patent leather Jordans, like the Space Jam Coronas. Y'all remember when Corona first came out, right? And everybody knew the shit was from Asia. And the two things that everybody knew was the shit came from Asia and Africans didn't have nothing to do with this. Even white folks was like, well, Africa's the one spot that don't got no Corona, right? Africans had shit to do with Corona. In China, there's a city called Guangzhou. I always talk about it. It's a spot where the Chinese women who be going down there for black dick on the low, they call it Chocolate City, right? Because the Africans didn't name it Chocolate City. The Asians named it Chocolate City. And it's a spot where a lot of African students and a lot of well-to-do Africans in business and stuff go in China. They kicked every single black person in China out of China on the same day. You couldn't go into your own apartment complex. You couldn't catch a cab. You couldn't get nothing to eat. And you couldn't go in all the doors were just locked all of a sudden for niggas. I don't even know how they even did that. You couldn't go into the hospital and you couldn't go to the airport and leave. All you could do was sit out in the street. Just thousands of black people for miles, as far as the eye could see, just outside in the cold. And China wasn't going to ship them back to Africa. It wasn't going to just leave them in the street to just starve out and die. And they did that shit, and they put that shit out on their national television closed caption circuit for the world to see. It wasn't like something leaked out. It wasn't like some African was filming it on his phone and got it out to his family No, they wanted the world to see. Look, we're a first world nation now because we mistreat black people. They were proud of it. They were that was their way to be introduced on the world stage and be accepted by all the other first world nations, was to show not like that, we can have innovation like other top countries or we got a military like the top other countries. They were like, no, we mistreat our black people just like the leading countries. That was how they were able to prove that they were a top country. Fuck a China. Like, you see what I'm talking about, to where these countries have almost like they're playing patty cake. Like they're having a goddamn dueling banjo with how they can outdo each other in mistreating black folks, right? And meanwhile, we still act like we some separate people. Now, for eons, black Americans, we've been the only people, that was seeing all black as black. But I got to be honest with you, it backfired on us. The rest of the black world treated black Americans like Vanessa fucking Williams on fucking Soul Food. Family fucked our husband, right? Like, we're the ones that's responsible. We're the ones that be looking out for everybody. We're the ones that, and you can tell that's the truth because one question, name me one other place on the planet Earth where you could be from any African tribe, any Caribbean group, anywhere, and come to this country and just be black. Is there any other place on the planet you could do that as a black person? No. There's no other place on the planet where you could just say, I'm black, and don't nobody ask you no more questions. There ain't no other place on the planet where you could be black and the non-black people in the area don't just flat out call you some derogatory black name to your face. Say what you want about America, but if you in Africa, if you're in South Africa right now and you're a black person, white South Africans walk right up in your face and call you a kafir. You kafir, you can't be on this beach, you dirty kafir. You got, I'm sorry, sir. And in Africa. If you in East Africa right now and you walking around somewhere and you bump into some Arabs, you're in Africa and they'll walk around calling you all kinds of abids and shit, which means slave, making fun of you. I'll give you a perfect example. Black Americans have always kind of had a feeling of remorse or feel bad for Palestinians. We see what y'all go through with the Israelis and we're like, oh, that's fucked up. That's sad what y'all go through. And then we found out that y'all got a country or a spot in y'all little punk ass open air prison country called Abid, making fun of the black folks. So even the Palestinians, who are the lowest of the low when it comes to the Arabs, even they think they're above black people. So imagine being a Palestinian. Imagine being a black person, seeing a Palestinian and what they go through every day. And you start to almost kind of feel bad. And then you hear one of them going, at least I'm not a nigger. You're like, oh, damn, even over here? All these other countries all over the world, even the lowest white person, a fucking Palestinian, a fucking Lebanese or something, even they can make fun of you in your own country. You go to some country in Africa and you'll see some Lebanese nigga. Lebanon ain't never won a war. Lebanon be getting punked by everybody in the Middle East, but they come all the way over to Africa just so they can feel like they want to know what winning feels like. You go to some country in Africa and it's some Lebanese nigga punking everybody at a curio shop. And you're like, are you serious? But take your ass down to any city in America. Take your ass down to any hood, any projects, any ward, any zone, any block in America. Them white folks might be thinking nigger, but they ain't gonna say that shit to no nigger. You notice that? Ain't nobody calling nobody no niggas to their face like they calling y'all all kinds of abids and goddamn coffers and shit in Africa. Ain't nobody saying that shit. Quote Nipsey Hussle. They say, young niggas stay in your place. That's some shit they gonna think. That ain't some shit they gonna say. Right? They know, oh, those niggas get. What was that? Oh, nothing, sir. You don't get that nowhere else in the world with black people. Nowhere else in the world. When the police pull me over, they don't ask if I'm black. No. But when the police pull you over, they don't fucking call you no abed or no goddamn coffer and just pull you out your car and get, because even with the police brutality that happens in America, what happens after the police brutality? There's a goddamn fallout. You kill a nigger, we're going to burn your city. Like, you don't just get it for free like you do in them other countries where a nigga just disappear and we just don't never hear, what happened to Pedro? No, nigga. Botham Jean, it was very sad what happened to him. But his mother made a remark that wasn't true. She made a remark like, I go back home and you guys all still have to deal with this bullshit. They be getting killed and guapped up and chopped up in her country too. The difference is there just aren't a lot of white folks to run into. But please believe you me, let a white person that did that shit in their home country, it wouldn't even have made it to trial. Wouldn't even have made it to trial. That white dude would have just got off. He'd have just said, my bad. He wouldn't even have to have been a cop. He could have just been a regular white dude having a bad day, walked in the wrong apartment and shot his ass. And he would have walked right out. They wouldn't even have arrested him. White folks walk around these other foreign black countries completely above the law. Completely above the law. Man, there are white folks that have gone to black countries and just started medical practices and weren't even doctors, have gotten people killed kids, and they just had to come back home. They just come back home for a little bit. There's a woman that killed so many kids, faking like she was a doctor. They sent her home. She's come back to that country, did it again. They sent her back home. It's like a game. There's no real consequence. The worst thing that'll happen to you in a black country, if you're white and you get caught doing literally anything, malpractice, faking like you're a doctor, terrorism, sexual abuse, torture, rape, murder, incest, creating diseases. The worst that'll happen to you is you'll get sent back to America. That's the worst. They've gotten mercenaries. I said earlier on this show, they've gotten mercenaries, American mercenaries in Haiti with attempts to kill the president and torture people, and they just send them back home. They send them back home. Like somebody in the back of a police car that should get a DUI, but instead they just drove them back to their wife. Like, hey man, can you keep an eye on your terrorist next time he's getting over here? He got in our backyard again. It's that lax. It's that lax. So it's not like there's any kind of real consequence for them when they get caught doing this shit. And it's not like now, like there's any kind of consequence for them mistreating you, foreign black, here in America, because they know now you don't got our love anymore. So if I were you, see, you thought all this time you were good because you were in good with the white folks. And we kept telling y'all stay here is situational and political. And that can change on a dime. If your situation in a country is political, that can change with the politics. You get a new political leader in office, you got a whole new ball game. And you thought in your head that the Democrats are pro-immigration, so if we get the Democrat guy in office, we're home free. No, that immigration shit don't include your black ass. When they say immigration, that's code for Hispanic votes. The largest immigrant groups are Hispanics. They're talking about Hispanic votes. They know that African immigrants aren't something that's even on the radar. When people in the larger, greater, dominant society think immigrant, they're not even thinking African. They're thinking Hispanic. And say what you want, African. This is something that you guys got to understand and get through your heads. Africans don't understand race. That's something that we got to kind of speak on once and for all. Africans don't understand race. They don't know what that shit means. They just think it means color. They don't really get it. They just think it means color. And so that's why when you're talking to Africans about something like the subject of race, they start talking about how they're darker or how they're blacker than you. And you go, we're not talking about hue of color. Your hue doesn't determine how black American you are. Jaimin Hansu is blacker than a lot of the average black Americans. But Jaimin Hansu will never be more black, as in black American, than even Tisha Campbell, Gina from Martin, right? Tisha Campbell's blackness is not judged by her hue. It's judged by her experiences of being a black woman in America. If you're a black person, the highest stage of enemy territory is America. We've had to be black as the away team. Black Americans have been the Washington Generals against goddamn Harlem Globetrotters for years. We've been black and outnumbered. You've been black on a black continent, and it's been hard for you to be black. So I don't want to hear shit about how you're blacker than me. You've been black on a black continent, and I'm going to be honest. No one ever really says this. Black Americans, we like to act like Africa is the motherland and is like the thing that'll recharge our blackness once we make it there. Really, when you look at it, Africa's like the home of where it all went wrong. I'm not trying to diss Africans personally, but I'm just keeping it real. Like, we act like we're unwell and we need to get to Africa to heal. We need to heal Africa. Africa is a broken place when it comes to blackness. That's where blackness died. You go to Africa, to try to restore some sense of blackness in your soul, and you'll be heartbroken seeing them all worshiping a white Jesus. Like, if you're just a white guy with long hair and tattered clothes and you just walk around in any spot in Africa, especially West Africa, they'll literally worship you like a god. They'll think you're actually Jesus. I'm supposed to go home to Africa and be healed with that? I'm supposed to go home to Africa where it's supposed to be like where you learn your roots of who you really are as an African. And you go into the courtrooms and all these niggas got lily white wigs and shit like that, like they're in France. All the countries got coats of arms, and the niggas walk around speaking fluent French, talking about I'm a francophone African, and they arguing with another nigga who's an anglophone African because they're conquered by an English-speaking country. And then you talk to the third African, and that nigga's all Allah Akbar and like Arabed up, and he helping the Arabs round up other Africans on behalf of Islam. And you're like, you niggas is you guys are the most compromised people of all the black people. But you try to act like the black people who are living in Jamaica, or the black people who are living in Haiti, or the black people who are living in America are some sort of westernized African. Look at you niggas. You niggas don't even speak your foreign tongue. You niggas don't even speak your tongues. But we messed up. But we're westernized. The entire continent of Africa is a westernized slave depot. Let's just be real. It's a spot where the rest of the world gets all their goods for wholesale cheap because don't nobody in Africa know how to hold nothing down. But I digress. I'm not even going to really pick on Africans in Africa. Y'all minding your own business. I'm not going to pick on Jamaicans in Jamaica or Haitians in Haiti. You guys are minding your own business, trying to get by like everybody else. I'm talking to the Africans who make it to America, who make their way to America. I'm talking to the Haitians that are trying to sneak in America to just get some food. I get it. But you got to understand, your homeboys that have been living here all this time fucked it up for you. See, if this would have been the 80s and black folks would have seen bitch ass Texas Rangers, and we hate the Texas Rangers the most out of all cop groups. Black folks hate the Texas Rangers like we hate Precinct 77 in California. Like, we know these are dirty ass cop groups. If we would have seen the bitch ass Texas Rangers whipping black Haitians like that back in the 80s, black folks would have showed up and showed out. Please believe black folks would have showed up and showed out if we would have seen some symbolism like that back in the 80s. Back when black folks was already showing up, protesting, wilding out, and fighting for the rights of Haitian citizens here in America already. If we would have seen some shit like that, think about it. Back in the day, remember, black folks flipped America's stance on apartheid in the 80s. And look how the flow of information used to go in the 80s back then. We changed their stance and shamed them into turning around and doing a 180 on apartheid in the 1980s. In the 1980s. When that information wasn't even flying around. How did that, just think about this for a second. How did news about South Africa and the real conditions going on over there even reach niggas in America in the 1980s? That came from South Africans and black Americans talking on some level. That's the real power of activism. There's different activist groups and advocacy groups all over the world, in every city, in every state. And when they get to talking to each other, that was the real power of Pan-Africanism. was just black folks talking to each other. Why do you think there's so much of an effort right now in 2021 for people not to be able to get information from one person to the next? Oh, this person's being silenced. Oh, this person's being shelved. Oh, this person's being kicked out. The community guidelines don't allow for. They don't want everybody talking and realizing the information that's going around right in front of their face. Because that's how information works. You might have a little piece of it, and the next person might have a little piece of it, and the next person, and the next person, and the next. But if everybody gets to talking, it allows you to put the pieces of the puzzle together. No, this goes over here. No, that goes over there. I think I saw that missing part somewhere. Oh, so-and-so has it. Just little pieces of information. That's how our whole internet works. It's just routers talking to each other. So during the rise of Pan-Africanism, you had all these different black nations talking to each other. What's going on over there? Well, we got spies over here. You got spies over there. We got spies over here. Well, you got spies over there too. Well, we got this. Well, this is what white folks are planning to do over here. And this is what they're doing over there. And this is blah, 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 blah. Well, did you know that they don't got that many white folks over here? Really? Well, we need to start sending support over there. Listen to what they're doing over here in South Africa. What? They're doing what? It was all these different black groups talking. And when you start to talk, when you all start to talk, right? When you all start to talk, you start to see patterns. And that's what black folks were starting to see. Wait a minute. The common denominator is these people. They didn't want niggas doing that. That was a problem. But that was how Pan-Africanism, that's how activism in general was actually effective. And back then, you had black folks realizing what they were doing to the Haitians. Now, you got black Americans realizing through the same means of communication, these people don't even like us. When they see stuff happen to us, they laugh. When they see stuff happen to us, they don't even get involved. They're too jealous. Black folks remember. Black folks in America remember. See, now you can try to spin this any way you want. When them George Floyd protests popped off, there were a lot of white folks involved in them riots. And they may not have all been involved for the purest of reasons. A lot of them were just trying to get free shit. A lot of them were taking it as an opportunity to get free shit because they knew it was going to get blamed on the niggas anyway. I understand all of that. I'm not trying to take any white participation we see in any of these demonstrations as anything pure. But they did get involved. And they did at least know how to make it look phony like they were involved because they cared, right? They would have their little Black Lives Matter signs at the riots while they steal cheesecakes, right? Everybody saw that shit, right? But they did at least fake like they cared. There were protests in every state in America, even Alaska, right? There were people on polar bears and shit protesting. It was beautiful. People all over the world made their little phony demonstrations where they'd go out there and put a sign out. We know it's fake symbolism, the same way everybody was taking a fake knee for Colin Kaepernick. Remember when everybody was taking a knee in the white world? When Colin Kaepernick had everybody taking a knee, but they were all taking knees for their own fucking reasons, right? All the black players in the NFL were taking a knee for police brutality. Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee for fucking police brutality. But when white folks started taking a knee, I believe it was week 10 of that NFL season. You had Jerry Jones taking a knee with niggas and shit. You had white folks. I'm taking a knee for animal cruelty. I'm taking a knee for environmental awareness, right? They were all using the symbolism of taking the knee, but they were adding their own meaning to it, which made it completely fucking pointless, right? So you had white countries and Asian countries coming out and symbolically coming out for support for George Floyd. I can't breathe and that shit. You know the one spot you didn't see anything? You didn't even see any phony symbolism. You didn't even see them trying to fake it like they gave a shit. Every country in Africa, every black-led nation, Haiti, Jamaica, anything in the Caribbeans, black Brazilians, the French, Anybody black that wasn't a black American came out soundly and resoundingly in the "we don't give a fuck" camp. Remember that shit? Remember? It was so bad. You had the pro-black people like Dr. Mumbi and shit, Dr. Mumbi Saraki from Kenya. You had to have her come out and make videos explaining why the Africans wasn't doing shit and just, oh, we're so scared to come outside. We're scared of our own police brutality. Niggas didn't come out and say shit, right? Every black nation was just silent as a church mouse. And that let America and the world know these black folks, they ain't on code with the black Americans. They're not on code with the black Americans. They're the only ones that wouldn't stand up and say shit. They're not on code with these people. That was a sign. Not only that, you had foreign blacks living in America, beating down the doors, tearing up a path to be able to say, we're not with these people. You know how in America, whenever it's the holidays and you go to certain companies to get things done on the holidays, it's going to most likely be foreign workers that don't celebrate Christmas that are going to be working at those jobs on that day, right? Y'all know how that goes, right? You walk up at a Safeway or a grocery store on Christmas Eve or on Christmas, it's not going to be the usual crew there. Those people are all home with their families living an American life. It's going to be the people who just got here that don't got family here or that don't celebrate the holidays like that are going to be working in these spots. That's how this shit work, right? Well, that's how the Africans was trying to act when the fucking protest went off. When the protest went off, you had every single foreign black. Just go look on TV. Go back in time if you can. Go on YouTube. Go Google this. Go look on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, or even your damn local news when the George Floyd protests were going on. It was almost like black folks as a race were on a holiday and you couldn't really get a hold of an actual black American because everybody that was on TV being interviewed that had black skin in America was some foreign black. And what were these foreign blacks saying? These foreign blacks that couldn't be bothered to make a statement of solidarity with black people during the George Floyd protest. These niggas was all on TV in unison, coming all from Cameroon, coming all from Nigeria, coming all from Ethiopia, coming all from Somalia, saying, we not with these niggas. We not with these niggas. Who's the little Somalian chick from The Squad? That she be up there all the time. They've slowly faded her back into the background ever since she got caught marrying that white boy. But she's in Minneapolis. You're the congresswoman from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where George Floyd was killed. And the only thing you can say on record is African Americans are jealous of us Somalians during the height of that shit. But then you want black solidarity? Oh, I'm good. You got the woman that was on CNN during the height of the George Floyd protest, and she was from Ghana, and she was talking about being, we're not with these black Americans. You guys always lump us in with them, and it's like being, it's like being put in one terrible pot. We were told when we came here to America by our parents that if we just don't associate with black Americans, we'll be fine. See, that was Africans. That was foreign blacks begging for mercy. That was what that was. Foreign blacks was looking at the wall. They was looking at black folks, how we was tearing shit up and we had enough of this shit and we want to respect. And we was flipping this whole goddamn country upside down. And the Africans saw that shit and they was making it clear. Just for the record, we not with them. You didn't have to say shit. You didn't have to say anything. But you guys all came out in unison. You guys all came out together to let it be known that if it goes down, y'all not with us. Because you thought it was going to go bad. You thought we was going to turn up and that white folks was going to put that fist down and get to slaughtering everybody, right? And you wanted it to be known that you not us. So all that when the police pull me over, they don't ask if I'm black or white shit is bullshit. Because when the police pull you over, you let the police know you not one of us. When the going gets tough, you niggas always get going. When there's a reparations check, or when there's some sort of an affirmative action thing going around, and it's good to be a black person in America, you niggas fight to get to the front of the line. But when the going gets tough, when some shit gets real, when they're all of a sudden looking for niggers, when it's hanging tree time, you niggas be the main ones that be selling us out and dipping and dodging. And black Americans, we're tired of the shit. We're tired of y'all posing to be us, speaking on our behalf. Look at during the reparations hearings, look at all the niggas that came out against reparations for black Americans who weren't even black American. All the in-Cobra niggas that are a bunch of foreign Caribbean niggas. Who was the one dude that was some dark-skinned Puerto Rican dude that had some whack-ass rap career where he was rapping in his underwear and shit, and they put that goofy-ass, clown-ass, coon-ass nigga up in charge to speak on our behalf. This is where that black is black shit, this is the day that black Americans said enough with all that black is black shit. Because you niggas is coming over here speaking on behalf of us. Speaking on behalf of us, saying we shouldn't get it, but then y'all want to have your own individual voice as Caribbeans for CARICOM trying to get reparations. So y'all want to speak for just for yourselves and speak on our behalf at the same time. You guys have come in over here. I want to do a whole separate article over this. Just the audacity. There are HBCUs where you got foreign members of leadership groups of HBCUs trying to get black Americans, yeah, you heard that right, banned for wearing ADOS shirts at an HBCU. Trying to say that that's divisive, but you're trying to divide the actual schools from black Americans and non-black Americans by kicking them out. But if a nigga walked in there with a Nigerian Independence Day t-shirt or a Stay Away from Akata t-shirt, you would chuckle and laugh it off. Black Americans are starting to see the little covert line in the sand that a lot of foreign blacks have been drawing. And you made this bed yourself. You made a miscalculation. I've been hearing a lot of foreign blacks say things like takeover and we got the numbers. No, you niggas are like 10% of 13%. You're a very small population. But this is what happens when you live your life looking through a submarine window and you just take your information based off what people tell you. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you niggas done watched one too many whack-ass episodes of Bob Hart's Abishola or what it is that got y'all really thinking y'all got numbers out here. You've seen too many, Wu-Tang Clan documentaries and looked around and saw it's a bunch of snaggletooth foreign blacks, and you think that that's what the black community is comprised of out here. No, you niggas don't run shit. Pop Smoke made one UK drill beat hot. You guys been doing that whack-ass UK drill forever. The nigga made one UK drill beat hot, and now you niggas think you just arrived. No. You're not there yet, nor will you ever be there. And what people are seeing right now, that's a message. White folks are taking notes. Oh, shit, we can beat the shit out of these people with whips, and they don't consider the Haitians one of them no more. Okay. 30 years ago, they couldn't even mistreat a Haitian. There was going to be problems. Remember when that Haitian, and I hate to bring up this thing, this is a horrible thing to happen to anybody. Remember when they violated that one Haitian dude in New York with a plunger and shit? You remember how black folks in America came after white America for that? They had to sacrifice that white cop. All right, fine, we'll give him up. We'll give him real time. Because they knew, we'll burn this city to the motherfucking ground. You don't do that to one of our brothers like that. The fuck's wrong with you? Think about the wild. Whenever you see all them black buffalo in Africa grazing in the water, and them lions be just out of sight looking like, oh, I can't wait to get one of them big fat black buffalo bitches. I can't wait to eat one of them things. But they don't attack. Why? Because they know that whole herd is coming for your ass. That whole herd's coming for you. They're all facing outside in different directions, all having each other's back. And you mess with one of the members from that herd. There's a famous YouTube video about that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Where the little water buffalo gets caught. It's a little baby water buffalo. And the alligator's got it in its jaws on one side. And the lion's got it in its jaws on the other side. And they're fighting over what they think is food. And when the lions finally get that water buffalo and they think, oh, we finally about to eat. Here come all the other water buffalo. All them niggas came back. That mom that you took that kid from, that you thought it was sweet. No, she went and she got all the other water buffalo. Here come all them niggas. And now all of a sudden, them 4 or 5 lions don't look so tough no more because there's 400 or 500 goddamn water buffalo. That's how it used to be. When black Americans used to feel like y'all had our back, we got yours. We see something going wrong with Haiti. We see them letting the Cubans come into the country but sending the Haitian boats back. Nope, we on that ass. We ain't gonna let niggas was out there really catching charges fighting for that. Y'all remember the old school Different World episode where they was in the jail fighting over the Haitians and goddamn Dean Cain. The actor Dean Cain was in there being a racist and shit. Y'all remember that shit. Don't act like I'm the only person remember them episodes of A Different World. We was fighting for Haitians back then. We was fighting for South Africans back then. That's what all that black power fist in the air shit was about. I'm 37 years old. I'm fucking 15 years old when all this shit's going down. How would I remember all this shit? Because this was stuff that was on the collective minds of black Americans back then. All the buttons and hats niggas would be collecting. They weren't just buying that shit to buy it. It was symbols to show I'm down with this. I'm riding with Winnie Mandela in South Africa. I'm blah, 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 blah. Real black Americans knew it wasn't even about Nelson Mandela. It was about Winnie Mandela. Real African Americans, we didn't like what happened to Patrice Lumumba. Like, that kind of news wasn't just going around back then. You had to be in the know and look for that shit. They try to slip that shit under. They used to try to present apartheid like it was this wonderful thing, like it was America in Africa. They wouldn't show you all the machinations and the shit that was behind it. Black folks had to go digging for that. Black Americans that was cool with South Africans was talking. And then those African Americans would talk to the rest of the community. And then it would become a thing. And then white folks would have to put it on the news what they were really doing. Okay, niggers, we are segregating based on colored and black. And you caught us. Black folks uncovered all the dirty shit white folks was doing to instigate the war between the Hutus and the Tutsis. They tried to make it seem like it was just civil unrest. Well, you know those niggers, they can't just get along and be in one spot. So here we go. We're trying to keep it under control. No, we exposed what they were doing. And now you lost all that. This situation in Haiti or in Texas is a symbol that you lost all that. Because white folks in America would never be so bold as to try something like that. And to think that black folks wouldn't be in an uproar about seeing some black folks be whipped. But this wouldn't be possible if it weren't for all the foreign blacks that have been over here that have been so nasty and so divisive and so elitist towards black Americans that we don't identify with you no more. Black Americans used to be so up in arms about how black people would get treated worldwide that when we saw Italy bombing Ethiopia, nigga, we volunteered for a war that wasn't even happening yet. Black folks was lining up in Harlem trying to join the military to go fight Italy. And when so much so that America had to stop us and say, hey, well, we're not at war with Italy. You can't go to war with someone we're not at war with. And when we couldn't do that, we was sneaking into Ethiopia to fight the Italians. They was having to deport niggas back to Harlem. When we couldn't do that, we were just beating up Italians we saw in America. They don't tell you that part. They act like the Italian mob was so big and bad. There was a period where the Italian mob, where just random niggas was messing up the mob's whole operations. There was a point in time where the Italian mob was trying to tell the Vatican, because the bitch ass Vatican was in on the attack on Ethiopia back then. They was telling the actual Sicilian Italians back home, hey, y'all got to chill all that shit. Because the black Americans over here are mad. You got to knock that off. They're beating us up, messing up our racketeering businesses, burning down our operations. It's Al Capone. Hey, man, I'm Al Capone and all, man. But these niggas is tripping. You lost all the homies' love. I listen to a show occasionally called, what's it called? Voice of America. It's actually a really, really good channel. What it is it's a DC-based channel. And it's a lot of Africans who live in America, who live in DC, who are in the politics side, who actually can see and quantify all the tangibles that black American politics brings to them here in the States. And you know what's funny? When I hear these people talk with a completely different tone. This is a completely different tone about black Americans than I hear common stock Africans living in America talk. These are intelligent Africans that understand where their bread is buttered, and they greatly appreciate all the activity and all the contributions and all the work that black Americans put in for them, not just in the history of America, but every day leading up to this very day in America. They understand that, hell, I heard the host of the show say, we hear a lot of Africans brag about their education levels in America, but no Africans admit that an overwhelming majority, we're talking about well above the 70% of the Africans in college here in America go to HBCUs. You live in black communities. You see, you always hear about Africans talk about how African Americans weren't welcoming to them in their communities. And then you ask them, well, then why don't you live in the white communities? And they'll tell you without any hesitation and without any sense of irony, well, the white people wouldn't let us live. Wait a minute. What do you mean wouldn't let? But like I said earlier, Africans don't appreciate anything that black Americans are doing for them, because Africans living in America think that they're living in America by the grace of white people. They're not thinking, wow, these black Americans are so gracious letting us live in their communities. They're thinking, white people placed us here and black Americans have to take it. But what they're about to start realizing now, what a lot of you foreign blacks are realizing right now is, now you're seeing the white man's real form. And you're stuck here. You can't go back home. They think you're living in the land of milk and honey and you got all this money. You can't go back home. They don't know that it's about to turn real racial up in here. See, you've never been around the white man when the shit turns sour and it's about to get racial. When he start feeling threatened because he thinks you're trying to fuck his woman and she ain't having his baby. This is what's about to start happening now. Now you're about to be treated like a nigger in a minute. You see how they were doing them Haitians? They're going to start rounding all you Africans up like that in a minute. Wait till you start getting the white voices out here that start blaming you guys for why their situation ain't good. We've been there before. You haven't. Now, the Hispanics, they're going to be able to team up with the Hispanics to some degree. And they can always sneak back and forth and bounce around between Central America and Mexico. You niggas are going to need us. And we've been trying to tell you. But I'm going to let this wrap up. I know I've talked for a long time, but I really wanted to get that through, that I want this to be a warning sign to all foreign blacks. Look how hard it is to make it in America without our help. Those Haitians that had to just get it, that had to literally get it out the mud. And low key, those bags you see them holding, those bags of food, even those bags of food you see them fighting for, that they're getting whipped out of their hands, even those bags of food are care packages left by black Americans. Didn't know white folks give you that shit. Niggas put that shit out there for you. We tried to help you. See, foreign blacks will never understand how much work we put in to help you guys, how much you are standing on the shoulders of giants when you come over here. You didn't do any of this shit on your own, and that's living proof of it. So start respecting us, because I bet you, I'm going to put the article up as soon as one comes out. Watch. I bet you some funky ass Democratic Party second generation immigrant nigga is going to put out some funky article trying to shame black Americans. Why this issue is an issue for you. No, it's not. And in fact, the opposite of the message needs to be conveyed. Why foreign blacks should take heed from this imagery and respect the protections that black Americans provide you. Signing out.